We're here today at Mars Hill. This prominent rock structure is just northwest of the Acropolis here in Athens, Greece. People have been meeting on this rock since as early as 594 BC. In English, Areopagus simply means Eris rock. In ancient Greek mythology, Eris, the Greek god of war, was tried here by the Council of Gods for the murder of Poseidon's son, or as the story is told. But in the 1st century, after Rome overtook Greece, they renamed this rock structure Mars Hill, for Mars, the Roman god of war. In Acts 17, it says that when the Apostle Paul arrived in Athens, that he was greatly distressed because he saw that the city was full of idols. So he went to the synagogue, which was his custom in every city, and reasoned with the Jews and the God-fearing Greeks, preaching the gospel to them and proclaiming that Jesus Christ was the long-awaited Messiah. After that, it says he went down into the marketplace, or the agora, and was encountered by a group of Epicurean and Stoic philosophers. The Epicurean and Stoic philosophical viewpoints were the two major opposing philosophies of the day. The Stoics believed that social change was best effected through politics. They believed that logic and reason was the only way to effect social change and to make the world a just and fair place. The Epicureans, on the other hand, resisted politics, and they lived life seeking what they called the state of tranquility. They pursued tranquility and pleasure at all costs and believed anything like distress or trouble or physical pain of any kind should be avoided at all costs. The leaders of Athens and the philosophers invited Paul to come with them up on Mars Hill so that they could discuss this gospel about Jesus he was preaching. They also wanted to engage in discussions about politics and philosophy. See, Paul didn't get distracted by philosophy or fashionable social topics. He did exactly what God sent him there to do, which was to preach the gospel. Paul understood when to talk, but also when to keep quiet. You see, in Acts 17, 22 and 23, it says, "Then Paul stood up at the meeting of the Areopagus and said, 'People of Athens, I see that in every way you are very religious. For as I walked around and carefully looked at your objects of worship, I even found an altar with this inscription, "To an unknown God." So, you are ignorant of the very thing you worship. And this is what I'm going to proclaim to you today. Paul used the inscription "to the unknown God" to show that the true God was actually the creator of all things, not just another mere idol that was made from silver or gold or stone, or just some sort of silly mythology or mere myth, but the one true God, the creator of all things. He told them that God wanted to forgive their sins and that he was calling everyone everywhere to repent and be saved, and that his resurrection from the dead proves that he is the one true God. In Colossians, Paul says that Jesus is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For in him all things were created, things on heaven and earth, visible, invisible, whether thrones or powers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. Paul kept silent on things that didn't matter in the scope of eternity, and he focused on things that did. Paul wasn't trying to win an argument or a debate. He was trying to win their eternal souls to God, and he did win some of them over. If we spend our time arguing about things that don't matter that much in the scope of eternity with people who are outside of Christ, then our words become powerless, and the gospel just becomes another idea in the sea of many. But if we will use wisdom in our words and use them to direct people back to Christ, then our words will be powerful and meaningful in a world that is full of ideas, voices, and idols.